Are we live, Dave?
We are live right now.
Great. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to the 2026 first meeting of PELIS, Prince Edward, Lennox and Addington Social Services. I just want to welcome everybody. I'm Brenda Orchard, the CAO for Lennox and Addington County. We start our first meeting of the year, electing our chair and our vice chair. So just in case there's public watching, I just want to explain that each year the chair is from one county and the vice chair is from the other county, and it alternates years. So this year, the chair will be from Lennox and Addington County, and the vice chair will be from Prince Edward County. And so I'm just going to open up the elections, and I'm going to look for nominations for the chair from Lennox and Addington County. Councillor Calver.
I'll nominate Tony Fretz.
Tony, are you willing to let your name stand?
Yes.
I'll look for a seconder for that motion. Brad Nyman, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to ask 3 times. Are there any other nominations for chair of PELIS from Lennox and Addington County? And third and final time, are there any other nominations for chair from Lennox and Addington County for PELIS? Seeing none, congratulations, Councillor Fritsch. You're the chair for PELIS for 2026. Thank you. So we're going to move on to the election for vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair from Prince Edward County?
Yeah, I'll nominate Councillor Nyman.
Councillor Nyman, are you willing to allow your name to stand?
Sure.
Great, thank you. Do we have a seconder for that nomination? Councillor Calver, thank you. Okay, 3 times. Here we go. Number 2. For the second time, are there any other nominations for vice chair from Prince Edward County? And third and final time, are there any other nominations for vice chair from Prince Edward County? Seeing none, congratulations, Councillor Nyman. You are the vice chair for PELIS for 2026. Thank you very much. That's my part. Councillor Fritsch, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Brenda. Good morning, everyone. And Nathan's around. He was been popping in and out, so he's somewhere there. I guess we still. Hi, Adam. Yeah, we have a quorum, don't we? Still, so
Yes, we do.
yes,
Tom.
we do. Just yeah, we have half. So I'm sure Nathan will return. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Motion to adopt the minutes of the PELIS meeting November 13th, 2025. Mover. Brian, seconder Steve. Any comments? Don't. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Brian. Seconded by Steve. Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. None noted. Matters for consideration. Item 1, 2026 Ontario Child Care and Early Years Funding. Kristen.
Tony, Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
yes.
First, I just wanted to welcome Kristen because I don't think she's new to this committee. She's joined our team in the spring of 2025 as a business analyst. So I just want to welcome Kristen as this is her first meeting where she's presenting. So
nice to meet you, Kristen.
Great.
Thank you, you as well. Through you, Chair, I do not have anything further to add to the report itself. I would like to highlight one detail. The original agreement to end March of this year has been extended through the end of 2026 and is to maintain current fees of an average of $19 a day. The province has identified a shortage in funding at this time to reach the original target of $10 a day. And I'm happy to answer any other questions council may have.
I had one question to start with, Kristen. I'm just trying to go into the document, but it has to do with the innovation fund that has sort of three components to it. It's 112,000, whatever, $557, that one.
Yep.
Is there flexibility to allot between the three programs in it? Is that up to the organization, or is that fixed? I think it talks
Through you,
about,
Chair, the amount allocated to Pellis is fixed, but we do have the flexibility to move around funding within those three projects as we see fit.
okay. Thank you. Do we have other questions for Kristen? Welcome, Sam.
Hello.
Hi. Good to see you again on another annual year of working with Pellis here.
Yes, great to be here now on slightly late.
So we had any questions for Kristen? Okay, so we have back to it. We have a recommendation that the report be noted and received. We have a mover, Nathan, seconded by Brian. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And thank you, Kristen, on that one.
Thank you.
No, you got off way easy. You got off easy on that one. Okay, we'll move on to item 2, CWE LLCC directed growth targets, and it's Liam. I'll turn it over to you.
Morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. It's good to see everyone. Through you, Chair, this report in front of you is a summary of the current standings of a directed growth strategy within Pellis. The report highlights some challenges we're currently facing as an area relating to discrepancies between how we believe the directed growth figures were being calculated and then the ministry figures. These discrepancies did place some pressure on the service area, where 49 spaces are potentially at risk depending on future home childcare reporting for 2025 and 2026. Pellis has completed a reporting template to the province, just identifying these pressures. As well, we did receive advocacy letters from both LNA County Council and Loyalist Township, which are attached to the report. We do remain hopeful that this will be resolved, and we'll be able to proceed with the successful proponent of our expression of interest that we did later in 2025, which was Boys and Girls Club, who was approved to create 49 spaces in Loyalist Township, but has since been paused until these discrepancies are kind of figured out. I am happy to answer any questions that committee may have.
Thank you, Liam. Anyone have questions for Liam? Okay, so we have, there's two recommendations from, well, one recommendation and a question there. The first one is just receiving the report. The second one is you want to provide an advocacy letter. So, yeah, I think we should. There's no harm in not providing one. Brian, you're muted there, so I think I know what you're.
No, I think we should provide a letter to the Minister of Education for sure.
Okay, so we have Brian moving. We receive the report and provide a advocacy letter. Do I have a seconder for that? Brad, are there any comments on that? Questions? No. Don't see any, so I'll call the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you, Liam. So item number 3 is school-aged affordability pilot. And it's Liam, again, you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. This report just outlines the feasibility of continuing the school age pilot, which we did in 2025 from September to December, continuing on into 2026. We are recommending that through our unallocated funds budgeted for local priorities in 2026, that we could have the possibility to extend this program for the entirety of the year, including both full day care and before and after school care for children aged 6 to 12 who are no longer eligible for the CWOC program or the reduced fees. With the report, Within the report, committee will note that we have also provided other alternative options that could be utilized as well. This funding project would only be applicable for the 2026 calendar year, with the possibility of extension, which would be dependent on funding allocations for future years. Staff will continue to monitor throughout the year to ensure that the project continues to be financially feasible and can remain month over month. I'm happy to answer any questions that a committee may have.
Yes, question. Sam, go ahead.
Hi, I guess my first question is, why is there $700,000 of unallocated local priorities funding? And if the funding is not continued for another year, will this become just another, like, it seems like it's going in the direction of a line item, but and also, do you know the breakdown? Is it all just LNA kids, or is it LNA and Prince Edward?
Yes, and through you, Chair, I guess to kind of tackle the first question relating to like unallocated funds. So relating to the allocation that we get from the province, it is usually based off of licensed spaces or operating spaces. But the way that the funds are then distributed are actually based off of the operating and the true days that the kids are actually attending. So it is more reflective of the actuals that the daycare centers and the childcare centers are actually providing. So when we do kind of our local priority allocations, which kind of encompasses like general operating funds, fee subsidy, and a whole kind of plethora of different allocations within there, it is typically based off of the total of what our licenses are. And if the operators aren't necessarily running at the license, we will only fund them based off of kind of the demand for the children. And we will look at ensuring that they're kind of meeting a certain threshold, and we're providing sufficient funds for them to continue to meet their operating standards and provide them with sufficient funding. And then I guess, sorry, Sam, do you mind repeating the second question?
Yeah, my second question is, I have another, can I actually ask my first, I have a follow-up to that before I go off on a train. So does anything about the unallocated amount go to the prior motion of why the province is funding us less? Like, do they see the unallocated amount that we're not meeting numbers, and thus, well, like we are, but like the daycares aren't using it all, so now they want to underfund us because of that?
I may get Pam's kind of insights on that there too.
So through the chair, so it's actually two different funding pots. So that we have the cost-based funding, which supports the our directed growth targets, and then our local priority funding is a more flexible funding arrangement to support the whole sector, as Liam had said, with a variety of different things such as fee subsidy. So the province currently wouldn't necessarily know what's unallocated because we have flexibility to spend it how we within the guidelines that we're able to. But based on our projections of what we think we'll spend on special needs, fee subsidy, some of those other pieces, and what we need for 6 to 12, we currently do have an amount that we're not anticipating we'll need, which is what we're looking to utilize for this affordability project. But it is separate from the cost-based funding that we receive for the directed growth targets. Hopefully that helps answer that question.
Yes. Can I go on question two?
You have another question. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you. My next question is this funding expected to become an annual line item? And if so, will the unallocated funds be used in a different way, and then we have to budget accordingly?
I guess it will be dependent on, like, I think at this point in time, like, we wouldn't expect it to be a continuous, just because we don't know what our 2027 funding will look like yet. So we don't want to necessarily say that this is going to be a continuous thing, kind of with the caveat that we can afford it this year, but then would have to do a reassessment based off of the TPA that we get next year. But we are hopeful that hopefully we can continue this as we do feel that it supports those that are attending the 6 to 12 program. But again, with the extension of the CWELC and local priorities agreement only necessarily going to the end of this calendar year, we are unsure of what our allocation is going to look like next year. So kind of just erring on the side of caution to ensure that we're just communicating that this is a one-time thing and we're not making a commitment moving forward that this is that this fund, if the funding potentially isn't there next year.
Yep, you have another question? Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I saw Pam jumped on, so.
What did you jump?
Yeah, sorry, through the chair,
Right.
I'm just for Councillor Branderhorst's information, I did want to also clarify that if we use all of our cost-based funding, we do have flexibility to use our local priority funding to fund additional cost base. So to kind of go back to that question, like if we had funding to support those additional spaces that we're currently not have the funding for, we could, but the challenge being that we don't know what our next year's allocation is. And so once we actually, if we expanded and approved that, it would be a commitment that we're making that, you know, we wouldn't know for sure year to year what our local priority funding is, but I do want to clarify that we do have flexibility to do that, but it would be not necessarily guaranteed from year to year.
Yeah, I think that kind of like goes along my thought process is that I didn't want to start basically a year-to-year funding, or my worry was a year-to-year funding stream that is constantly paid out of a pot of temporary money. And where does that create expectations for the need of either parents? Like if it's very well known that it's just that, then I'm okay. Sorry.
Go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, Liam. I feel like I was so nice before, and now this is back to normal.
No.
My last one is, do you know the breakdown between Prince Edward kids and LNA kids? And where does the breakdown of funding go to?
Yeah, through you, Chair. I don't have the figure right on hand right now in terms of like the exact split between the two, but it would go between based off of the actual operating spaces in Prince Edward County and then also Lennox and Addington County. So if there's 100 kids that need support in Prince Edward County and another 200 kids in Lennox and Addington, we would kind of fund that based off of the individual needs on a month-to-month basis, kind of looking at, okay, what was the actual costs incurred or the actual attendance for the kids 6 to 12 across both counties. So it will kind of be a month-over-month of assessment to ensure we're funding the actual cost replacement fees across both Prince Edward County and Lennox and Addington.
If you have a copy of those costs, would you be able to break them down and just show us, even if it's a month-to-month percentage shifting, even if it's next meeting?
Yes, through you, Chair. And I guess I may have this up here right now.
I think it
yes.
could really help with knowing our poverty, like as both of our groups are starting to move towards poverty reduction, like both of our municipalities are. I think it's an important number to have as a ripple effect, because they may be families searching for other services that might help us better serve our communities by having some of these like extra numbers, especially seeing if they change and fluctuate seasonally.
Yes, through you, Chair. Yeah, I can definitely provide that within the next meeting as we kind of once this pilot is approved, and we can, if committee so wishes, that it's be approved, and we can kind of continuously do those reportings on to committee, and potentially even include them within the metrics too, if that's committee's wish as well.
I would be interested in that.
You okay there, Sam, with more questions?
Nope.
Okay, you're all set. Okay. Are there other questions? I have oh, Brad, you have a question? Go ahead. You're just muted.
Yeah, just one quick question, and might have already been answered, but thanks, Mr. Chair. Just on the 700,000. So if this pilot project goes, it's 750. There's 356. The other remaining, that's just going to be left there to use throughout the year, or what are we using that for? Or I guess what's the perfect, like, what's the intent?
Yes, through you, Chair. Kind of to Pam's point earlier, like it is kind of a funding flexibility that we have within that in that funding pot in order to kind of allocate funds in different projects. As of right now, we don't necessarily have, besides this 350,000, we don't necessarily have a planned allocation for the remaining amounts. But this could fluctuate as the local priorities funding kind of does include things like fee subsidy, special needs resourcing. So when we budget and distribute those allocations, these are all kind of forecasts on the year. And kind of having that little bit of a buffer does kind of give us the flexibility. So say the fee subsidy does experience an increase, we can utilize some of those funds to potentially deal with that increase, or similarly kind of ensure that we're meeting the needs of the community at that point in time too. And then similar to what Pam said too, if we do have the potential to utilize it towards cost-based funding as well, which is inclusive of the 0 to 6, it is at this point in time there isn't necessarily any planned allocation for that remaining 350,000. But we do kind of utilize forecasts in order to assume what the costs are going to be for the different funding pots within local priorities. And as of right now, that funding is currently unallocated, but could be utilized to support if there was any increase in those budgets or forecasts.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't actually have any questions on this one. Are there any other questions? No. So there are two recommendations. One is to the report be noted and received, and the other one is approval of the it works out to be option 3. That's the actual option you're recommending in this draft. So we have a mover, moved by Brian, seconded by Sam. All in favor? It's carried. And thank you, Liam. We will move on to item 4, the HPP funding update. And that looks like Scott is there somewhere.
Yes,
Good
I'm
morning.
here. Yes, hello. Thank you. Yes, this is so this is happens every year with our homelessness prevention program funding, and that they tell us what we're going to get, and then it arrives later. Like, so one year we didn't get this funding until I believe October or November, and we kind of front the expenses until then. The difference with this year is for the last 3 years, we got a letter 3 years ago from the ministry saying you're going to get this amount for the next 3 years. We don't have a letter stating that. So this was a request just to kind of keep those activities funded through the homelessness prevention program operating until we receive the funding. And I have an update. At the end, it talks about, we brought this issue to Lennox and Addington Council in January, and there's attached to the item is a letter that Warden Townend sent on January 27th, and on January 29th, I received a response from the province. Now, most committee members have probably been part of, we'll write a letter to the province asking for something, and sometimes you hear back and sometimes you don't. Well, we heard back within 2 days, and if you're okay, Chair Fritsch, I'll just read what the ministry said. It's just that the homelessness prevention program is expected to continue in the upcoming fiscal year. We've been receiving HPP funding in one name or another for about 28 years. It's been called different things over the years. Planning for funding allocations for the next fiscal year is currently underway. Confirmed funding allocations will be communicated by the minister's office, and additional information about funding allocations will be shared with service managers once it becomes available. So that's not like, it hasn't stated how much we'll receive and when, but at least telling us that we'll receive HPP funding. I can't imagine the province taking a position that says homelessness is solved. We no longer need to fund service managers. And in fact, I know a number of service managers have requested from the province saying, you locked us into this HPP funding amount 3 years ago, and the needs have escalated, but we still receive the same funding. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually received more funding. So, sorry, that's probably talked enough about this item.
No.
Any questions? I'll entertain.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Scott. Sam, go ahead.
Hi, Scott. Happy New Year. Great to see
Happy
you.
New Year to you too.
Feel like I need to be friendly before I dive into questions. My first question is, so you went to LNA Council, why not Prince Edward?
Because we're actually, and I'll get Pam's help on this in case this is wrong, but so the reserves that we use to pay for HPP expenses before we get HPP, those are Lennox and Addington reserves. We don't dip into Prince Edward County reserves.
Oh.
To do that.
Okay. Follow up to that.
Certainly.
It's just but in this question, I understand the reserves need, but to me, it seems like you would be searching for as much advocacy work as possible. So I think coming to Prince Edward Council would have been a nice step also, because we would have liked the opportunity to also support PELUS and HPP funding, and also support being able to reach out and support on a greater level also, where to me it kind of sounds like we're finding out, like, yes, it is a reserve question, but sometimes it feels like, and this is like a greater issue on a whole, is that LNA hears of things first, and maybe it's a reserves that you have to go to them, but then we don't get the same chance as a whole on council to be able to hear and support and advocate and want to contribute to. So I know we pay less, but that doesn't mean our voice isn't as strong.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think my only response to that is we'll try to do better and think of you and make sure that we keep you informed.
I mean, not everyone asks as many questions in Prince Edward as I do. I'd like to I want to put that out there. We're not as scary as me. I promise.
Hey, I think I'm coming to your February 24th meeting. I'm not sure if that's council or committee of the whole to talk about PELUS, but I think we can strive to do to improve this process when we're informing one council, that we make sure we inform the other council.
I think it would be great, especially as advocacy, it feels like, for not even just for housing, but let's just use homelessness and housing, feels a bit like pulling teeth right now. I think it's really important for us to work together as a team and really stand up as a more united front. And I think the homelessness meeting was a good, back in November was a good start. But I would like to see a little bit more, if it's not too much work to you guys, even if it's online, coming and doing deputations and bringing more forward, because I think the more people that hear these numbers that we hear, the better the conversations go on a wider scale.
Yeah.
Just know you're wanted.
Yes, it's good to be wanted for sure.
Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to back up Sam's comment. I think it's also important that our council members and our local media, for that matter, hear it directly from the horse's mouth, as it were, as opposed to filtering through myself or two council members. There will be other questions. Yes, Sam asks questions, but that's her deal, and they're very good questions. But I think that's important, because the members of the community want to know what what efforts are made to deal with these issues, not just in Prince Edward County, but also regionally. So I would very much appreciate Um, whether it's the presentation on the 24th, and I believe that's a Tuesday, so it'll be a council meeting. But providing information so that all of council is aware and can ask any questions that may be relevant to their individual service areas.
Great. Pam, you popped in and out. Did you have something you wanted to mention?
No, I was just going to say to thank Sam for the comment, and that we will definitely take that back and look at a process of how we ensure everybody is informed.
I certainly know how I feel and that we're all in this together. So I certainly see us all as equals. And honestly, Sam, questions are why we're here. If no one had a question, you would hardly need a committee, so that's the purpose of it, to get into those questions and debate it. So,
Mr. Chair, to note, I enjoy Sam's questions. They're great and lead to a greater understanding of what it is we're trying to do here, for sure.
We have other questions?
I guess just to note, Mr. Chair, sorry, I will keep the committee updated as I anticipate there'll be a letter from the minister saying, congratulations, here's how it will work. So I will keep the committee informed about that as we get that.
Scott, I think you're sort of implying that maybe we do not need to send the advocacy letter in this case.
I would say that it's been sent and we got a response. And we got a very positive response. So I think that's good.
Okay. I'll leave that up to whoever wants to make a motion here. So there are two items on here. One is a report be noted and received, and the other one is really a request for direction. So does someone want to make a motion? Sam, is it to note and receive?
Yeah, I don't think we need direction. It sounds like our staff doesn't want direction or is feeling confident. So I'm good to note and receive.
Thank you, Sam. We have a mover. Seconder, Nathan. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item is Homeless Prevention Program Community Investments. And it's you, Scott, again.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and congratulations on being the chair, and to Councillor Nyman as well as vice chair. Look forward to working with you, and I actually really enjoy this committee. It's so great and supportive. So our homelessness prevention program funding. We use it for a number of purposes, but one of the things we do is work with our community partners, and they either usually deliver a service we don't deliver, like a warming center, or augment or accelerate something that we're already doing. So there's a list of places that responded to an expression of interest from us, and all of these folks we've funded in the past. And one piece, one of the things that we fund with homelessness prevention program funding is people who have rental arrears or have experienced utility disconnects, and we spend some money to try to keep them housed, and it's proves to be very cost effective. So one of the things we don't know is, at the end of March, how much money are we going to have available? So we did have one request for funding from Alternatives for Women in Prince Edward County, and they're going to create a new transitional housing home for people that use their services. So there is a thing that says at the end, you like that? There we go. There's a piece at the end that sort of says, when we look at all of this, towards the end of March, if there's some money available, can we dedicate that to alternatives? So that's something we'd be looking forward to. I would note too that some of the costs have gone up. We now are providing more funding to Morning Star Mission, and the cost for the outreach services from addictions and mental health have increased as well.
Thank you, Scott. Have questions? Go ahead, Sam.
I can let Brian go first if
Oh, I didn't see Brad.
Go ahead, go ahead, Sam.
I-
You
okay, I
might,
just feel like you never ask questions, so I
no,
felt
but
like I was gonna get
a
you.
couple of the questions you've asked, I was going to, so continue. I may not
Oh.
even have to speak.
Oh, great. My question is and you kind of dabbled on it a bit, Scott, because we're 6% under the funding allotment, and that's like 1 or 2%. I understand 6%'s quite a bit in this area. I did see that like potentially it could get what you're saying with the alternatives of women could bump it up and shift that percentage. I very much would like to see that. I would have a hard time approving this funding recommendation until I see that, honestly, because it's not to me fair. And I understand the mental health and addictions funding has gone up and that's important, but also at the same point, like we need those opportunities too. Like it's not getting any easier where we are. So I'm just wondering on how we can maybe close that gap a little bit better.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Branderhurst, through you and to the rest of the committee. I understand your concerns. The Morningstar mission does act as a warming room for both counties. They regularly house people from Prince Edward County. I don't have any stats or numbers about that, but I know that from our office, we've sometimes sent people by cab to Morningstar Mission once we verify there's room. But I do anticipate that the funding to Alternatives for Women will increase that percentage. And one of the issues with HPP funding is this is money for 2025, 2026, sort of from April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026. It needs to be basically out of our door by March 31st of this year. But community partners that we fund, they have to use the funding by March 31st, 2027. So that's why we wanted to wait right till the end of March to decide on that funding allotment for Alternatives for Women.
Okay.
I
So
don't know
it
if
has
that
to
answers
happen.
your-
I personally would still like to delay approving this final push or this final recommendation until I see that. Just that's me personally. I'd like to see it all come together in one document. If we get the alternatives for women funding, that's fantastic and moving forward. But until that point, like it would just make me more comfortable. So I probably will not be. I might be asking for a splitting up the vote between the items. If yeah, at this point, just so you know.
Okay, and just to inform the committee, we plan to be making this decision. I'm just looking at a calendar about March 25th, 27th, sort of the end of the last week of March. Just to consider that.
Brad, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, so, Scott, you mentioned about Morningstar and that it comes from, both counties. So I'm just trying to figure out what is the numbers, and I know you said you don't have them, but I guess we'd like to see, or at least I would, how many people are coming from Prince Edward County to Napanee to attend that. And I thought I heard you say we're providing taxi service to the Morningstar so that people can get there. And I guess, is that from Prince Edward County? And then the other question, kind of, we had the Hope Center that was trying to get things going and could benefit the people from the western end of Prince Edward County too. So, and I guess if we're taking people from the western end of Prince Edward County to Napanee, that's probably 70, maybe $100 taxi ride. So I'm just trying to figure out, you know, is there a way that we can put some of that money in something like the Hope Center, if it's not full-time, but at least a part-time, and if it's not the Hope Center, find something that we could do here.
Yes, Councillor Nyman, through you to the rest of the committee, we could look at that. I should note too that sometimes we put people on a bus to send them to Belleville to go to the Grace Inn shelter, if that option is available. It's just there's no shelter currently, but I'm part of the Housing and Homelessness Action Team, which is a committee in Prince Edward County. I can certainly talk to that committee about strategizing about how to operate a warming center in Prince Edward County and who might be open to that and how that might work and kind of the length of time that would then determine costs, and take a look at that for sure. And I can certainly also, for our next meeting in April, I can get you numbers from Morningstar about the number of people from Prince Edward County, but the majority of the people who stay at Morningstar are from Napanee. Just so you know, I don't want you to think that somehow half the people there are from Prince Edward County. That's not the case.
Okay, thank you. I have a quick thought, or
Go ahead, Brad. We've got, yeah, then we'll go to Brian and then maybe Pam. Unless Pam, you wanted to comment on something that was just said?
No, I just had a suggestion that might help with the discussion. So please go ahead with the other.
Okay, well, Brad, you go ahead, and then I think Brian has something. Yeah.
okay, thank you. So Scott, I know we there's a couple motels or Salvation Army also provides that service too. So I'm just wondering, you know, what's the numbers like for there too? How many times are we sending people to the motels in Prince Edward County, or that Salvation Army is helping out, I guess? So it's, and is there, those are the two that I know. I don't know if there's other ones.
Okay, I don't know those numbers, right? Certain Councilor Nyman, through you to the rest of the committee, I don't know those numbers, but I can certainly find out and for our next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Brian, you had a question?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Through you, Chair. Scott, I see the Morningstar mission, $293,648. That number's increased drastically over the last couple of years. Can you tell me, do we get to see how this money's spent or how they go through the money? Because they have a lot of money coming in through various areas, and I just see this as climbing. I thought at one point they were down around 180,000 they were getting, and now they're up. I'm just wondering if you can provide with the last few years of what their funding was, and as what the why all of a sudden there's such a huge increase in that. And like I say, do we get any numbers back as to how the money's being used, what it's going for? It's just spent willy-nilly, because if you see the videos of the drug use that goes on around that place constantly, and the resources we're tying up between the police there on a daily basis and the ambulance there on a daily basis and paramedics, it's costing a lot more money than just the 293 when you put it all in perspective. And I'm just wondering if we're funding something and spending a lot more money on it that maybe we shouldn't be, to maybe reduce some of that. I mean, I see the videos, I talk to the locals all the time, and it's not getting better. It's getting a lot worse. And then I come to find out that we're actually busing in from Picton, or busing in from the county, or sending by cab. I said that's kind of shocking. Is there, maybe we can set something up similar over in Prince Edward and maybe split it up? I don't know. It just seems to me a lot of money and a big increase all of a sudden, and I'm just trying to figure out as to why. That any of that makes sense?
Yeah, it certainly does, Councillor Calvin, through you to the rest of the committee. So in the previous years, all the previous years that I've been here, we've funded Morningstar for part of their operations, and they've done fundraising to support the rest. And this year was the first year. You're right. Last year, I think I'm going by memory, but 200,000, and I think the year before was 180,000. I think your numbers are bang on with that. But this year we funded their whole operation for their warming center, and I don't have their budget. They did send a detailed budget. Almost all of that money goes towards staffing costs. Because when Morningstar first opened their warming center, they were using volunteers, unpaid volunteers to be the human resources for the evening. And then I think the behaviors were so significant that they were having difficulty getting volunteers. So then they had to pay staff, and almost all the money is for staff. With the Hope Center, when they operated a warming room, I don't know why I remember these numbers, but I think it was open 89 days. And there was a total of 90 people that stayed there. Sometimes there's more than one, so sometimes it was empty. And it was about $120,000. And that was, I think, except for about $5,000 or $10,000, it was all staff time. So that's what consumes a lot of the money, is because you need at least 2 staff people on at any given time.
No, and I'm not disagreeing that people need help, but it's very disheartening when you spend as much time around the area as I do because of constant complaining, and you're seeing people pulling up in Lexus and they're going in and they're getting meals and they're walking out and jumping in their vehicles and driving away. I mean, it just seems to be it's going a little bit above and beyond maybe the homelessness as per se, but maybe we can put some rules and regulations into some of this about the drug use around. I mean, I'm not saying the drug use happens on the property, but less than a foot off the property, I can send you video after video where it's happening all night long. And I thought the warming center had rules of times when people had to be inside and not outside. It goes on all night long. So I'm just from listening to the people I listen to, it's becoming more problematic. And then to find out we're actually bringing them in from Lennox or from Prince Edward County, and where else are we bringing them in, and who else is sending them to us? So that has to be the next question. I mean, if we're sending to Belleville, is Kingston sending? I'm just trying to figure out how we can get a better handle on numbers of how this is being used, and if it's being used right, then fine. I just see a huge increase since last time I sat on Pellis, and I see, when I look at the total, like Lennox and Addington is getting 73%, and Prince Edward's only getting 27%. So I'm just trying to make it all fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Calvert. And just sort of a related topic, Pam, Kent, and I have met with Kevin Alkenbrack, the executive director of Morningstar, about finding an alternate location. We've actually also met with Matthew Grant, the CAO of Napanee, about an alternative location, because we recognize, and Kevin, Morningstar definitely recognizes the impact that having the warming shelter there has on the neighboring community. I think Morningstar would be happy to operate a warming center in a different location while still operating their food and clothing programs where they are, which doesn't bring us the level of, for lack of a better word, issues and dysfunction and drug use and things like that the warming center brings.
Yeah. All right. But okay. Thank you.
I know we'll bring Pam in a minute. I have a question for you, Scott, as well. Just helping understand the alternatives for women. That facility. What's involved and what were they? They had a request in as well? Did they a funding request?
So Alternatives for Women provides safe housing for women and children who are victims of domestic violence, and they've got a facility now that has I wish Julie, the executive director, I think they've got 6 or 8 apartments, and it's called second stage housing. So women who are victims of domestic violence can stay there up to a year, and then they move out and find other accommodation. And that year allows them to get their lives in order or settled or whatever. And so they also have a transitional housing operation where they can house people temporarily. It's just an expanded service. So once those 6 or 8 apartments are full, they're full and they have no other housing options. So this would be looking at providing additional housing options. So their application was for $200,000. We weren't able to fulfill that, but in further discussions I had with Julie Watson, the executive director of alternatives, she was saying, hey, like any funding you can provide would be beneficial. I believe they have a home in mind that they've identified. And this would be to help get that home ready. And I think complete some repairs, but also, they'll need beds and a couch and plates and cutlery and all that stuff.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. I'm just trying to understand what it was. So in that case, some funding is better than no funding in their situation.
Oh, sure. They're
Okay.
it usually doesn't line up like this with surplus funding, but if we do have some surplus, then they'll kind of, take whatever we can provide. So,
Okay. That helps me with that picture.
okay,
Thank-
yeah. Does that answer your question?
No,
Counselor?
it does exactly.
Okay.
Pam, now I'll turn it over to you here.
Just through the chair, I just wanted, because it's important for us to get some approvals in order to have the funding committed by March 31st. I just wanted to throw out a potential option. So we do have, as Scott had mentioned, there's other funds that we always are fluid. And so that's why we don't really know till kind of near year end where we're at, but those funds haven't yet been committed. So based on our projections of what we've been spending, we do anticipate there will be funding remaining to be able to give alternatives funds to get us closer to that 33%. However, in order to move this forward, we could potentially look at an allocation for alternatives for women and then limit those other funds that are kind of fluid, like manage those in a different way so that we come within budget, if that helps us at all to get to an approval. So I just wanted to offer that as a solution, potential solution.
So Pam, would that bump us in terms of the funding distribution rough? What are you thinking? Where would you bump that up to in the distribution? I'm asking a question you couldn't answer right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know based on our anticipation, we thought we'd get it up closer to like 33% for Prince Edward County, so 32, 33, but I guess we'd have to.
So how much are you thinking of, what are you thinking of could be moved or allocated to? Do you have some thoughts on what specific numbers? No,
I don't, unfortunately.
Okay, that's
just
okay.
because it's so fluid, I'm not really sure where we're at right now. We'd have to, yeah. I think that 30, yes, I would hate to misspeak, but I think the 33 was around, the 80 to 90,000 mark of funding would get us to there.
Okay.
I think that's correct, something like that.
Is that correct, Scott? Okay.
80 to 90 more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
So are you suggesting a commitment to that, or I'm just trying to be clear on what, maybe I'm not listening.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am suggesting that potentially we could make that commitment and then change our, like the other funds that we use are from our HPB, then we would limit those funds that are available until we know if we actually have, I suspect we'll have enough funding anyway to continue all of it, but we will monitor those more closely to ensure that we can make that commitment to alternatives.
Okay, I got you now. So, Sam, go ahead.
Yes, that's great, Pam. Thank you for that. I think that helps us feel a little bit more confident with moving forward that there is like a little bit more locked in plan. I have a new question based on what Councillor Carver said, which was, I guess, what specifically are we doing to use HPP funds to work on more long-term homelessness sustainability programming? And kind of in the word, like, how are we starting to create like moving Morningstar is part of that, but if we're moving Morningstar from a way that people have access to reach it, then that's different funding, but that's part of it. It's like, what infrastructure basically are we using this funds to build towards, as we know the costs, the yearly cost for homelessness, like the associated cost with homelessness is going up every year. How are we better directing these funds to basically help ratify or like create permanent infrastructure, I guess? Does that make sense, Scott? I'm trying to.
Yes, it does, Councilor Brandenhurst. That's a great question in response to you and the rest of the committee. So one of the programs that we fund out of the HPP funding is our transitional housing program. So that takes more of a longer term approach to solving homelessness. So people in our transitional housing program, it takes about 1.5 to 2 years before they're ready to live independently. And we provide supports, we provide rent supplements, so a discounted rent for them that they can afford, and we provide supports to help them progress and move along the line, sort of taking them from unhoused to being ready to be housed, and then we help them find housing. So that's a program where we've solved homelessness for over 40 people, and so far the homeless, for those 40 people, or I think might be 44, that where we've solved homelessness, it's stuck. Nobody has fallen back into homelessness. And in fact, because so many people that go through that program are from Napanee, people are seeing their friends, other unhoused people are seeing their friends becoming successful and are coming to us. How do I get what my friend has? What do I need to do? And sometimes there's a lot of work for people to do. It took one fellow about 6 months to finally do all the things we asked him to do. And then now he's part of the program. Don't know if he'll be successful or not, but at least he has an opportunity. So we do look at those longer term pieces. And one of the interesting pieces with homelessness prevention program funding, and I'm hopefully anticipating a change with this, you can use that funding basically to manage homelessness, but you can't necessarily use it to solve homelessness. We couldn't use HPP funding to build, a sixplex of supportive housing units, for example. We couldn't do that. You can't use it for capital because we have other funding that the province gives us that we can use for capital. So that's mostly likely the reason. So,
yeah, that answers it more, is specifically where the funds can be spent, because I agree with Brian. Like Prince Edward County Homeless should not be going to LNA. It's nice that they have a warm spot to go, but they Picton Homeless, for if we're doing town to town, Picton Homeless should stay in Picton, and Napanee Homeless should stay in Napanee, and because that's where their community and their support systems are. We've had conversations about that. So it is, I see it's more of a trickier conversation of keeping funding to where funding belongs, I guess. Using funding for the categories more than a it's not that it's not being done or being thought of, it's just funding where funding is more answers my question. And sorry, I'm good for now.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish, because so far you're doing good with my questions. I wish you'd get out of my head though. But I did have one question or through your chair.
You go. You go.
Can we get a breakdown of how many homeless people there are in Prince Edward County versus homeless people in Lennox and Addington County? Or do we have that number and I just missed it?
Councilor Calver, that's a fantastic question, because later on today's agenda, where is it? Number 8, it's an enumeration. We did an enumeration of unhoused people.
Yep.
So I can give you some early results from that.
Okay, no, I must have missed that going through it. I've only read thousands of pages this week, so.
Yes,
Brains-
yeah. Oh, well, yeah, and I've got some numbers for that, so I can
Okay.
share that.
Well,
I
or
can
we
share
can
that
wait,
now, or I can wait until we get to that
we can
item.
wait till you get to that.
Okay.
And just one more question. How much of an increase is Morningstar Mission getting this year over last year?
Let's look. So that we gave them $200,000 last year, so that $93,000. So almost what, close to like 40 some odd percent.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, is this number set in stone?
No, this number changes every year. Kevin does a very detailed budget that he includes in his expression of interest. And I should add too, if right now Morningstar doesn't charge any rent for their facility, and if they were to relocate, we'd probably have those costs combined with the staffing costs as well.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to figure out how we can get this solid for women's thing up and going. I mean, that's a good thing as well. And I mean, you're looking about a $90,000 shortfall, yet we increased Morningstar by 90,000. I just know at their coldest night of the year, they'll have a bunch of money coming in. Like they make huge money on that donations and stuff, which is good. I mean, it's all. I'm just trying to figure out how we can get the best bang for the buck. Even if we just increased it to 250 versus 293, and I don't know. These guys are the number guys. I'm just trying to figure out how to make it work and get as much out there for as many people that require the help as needed. So
just because just some history with the committee in again going by memory, either the September or November meeting in 2025, the committee decided to allocate that $293,000 to Morningstar because they needed to have security of funding so that they could hire staff and start to operate.
Okay. So this
the
money's
committee
already been
committed
approved.
earlier. It's included here so that people know, but Morningstar has already been approved by the committee at that level.
All right.
Yeah.
Then I will shut up and let everybody get on. Thank you.
So we have an option that was brought up by Pam to, let's say, if you added $90,000 to the alternatives for women, that category, that item, you would be right up close to you'd be right maxed out on allocating your, I think, 1,100,000, whatever it is here, the total amount. However, that recommendation to the committee here is, which is similar to other years, is they also have the staff also has the authorization to kind of reallocate funds a bit around between those categories. I understand that during the year as things change. So is that a direction you want to go? I think I'm seeing is that a nod,
Yeah.
Sam?
Yeah.
Brad? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be in favor of that.
It sort of boxes them in the sense they don't have other additional funds, but some funds may become available because I don't understand all the details of this, but perhaps like Scott, do some people not spend all the money? Do you end up with some of that money being able to shift it later in the year because things change?
Oh, that's a great question, Councilor Fitch. And yeah, so what the unknown parts is, so we don't know how many people in between now and the end of March are going to come to us and say, I have rental arrears, and we don't know what those arrears will be. We also don't know how many people are going to come to us and say, my electricity either got disconnected or is about to, and we don't know what those bills will be. We always see a bit of an increase in requests for that funding in January and February. But the increase this January and February weren't as sharp as the increases last January and February. So it's a bit of a guessing game, but one of the items we're looking for approval for is just that ability to kind of look, when we look on March 27th and see how much money we have, rather than returning it to the province, let's send it to a good cause, and not just any good cause, a good cause that we're telling you about here, which is alternatives for women. So
Okay.
that's, yeah, and some of the cost cutting measures we could do if somebody has, I'm making this up, of course, but if somebody came to us and they had a utility bill where they owed $200, we normally would pay that off, but maybe we can pay $100, get it reconnected, and then worry about that additional $100 of arrears later. We can manage it differently like that.
Okay, so if we added the 90,000, we'd be up close to the $1,110,000 that's been allotted. Okay.
Yeah, I think that would bring it. So I was trying to do math, but I thought it was better to pay attention to questions than try to do sideline math. But
Gotcha.
I think that brings us up to closer to that sort of 36% and 64% that we always strive to get to, by the way. That's definitely recognizable. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know last year at Morningstar Mission, it was either 73% or 78% of the people there were from the town of Napanee, with others coming from Prince Edward County and the rest of Lennox and Addington, the majority. There's far more expanded services for unhoused people in Belleville and Kingston, so it tends not to draw them here. And now that Quinte Regional Detention Center is mainly for women, and men tend to go to Lindsay, we aren't seeing the discharged at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the person lives in Windsor on a Saturday and they have nowhere to go, so they end up at the Mission. We don't see that as much now that those changes have been made.
Great. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Sam, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and thank you for double checking, Chair, with that wording. I would be comfortable, and so I do appreciate you just double checking and coming back around to that. Thank you for that. My last question is specifically with the EOI process, and how does what are kind of the parameters for who gets chosen and who doesn't within it? Like, I think it said that 16 submissions were made, but 13 I counted on the list. I'm just curious on and if the amount stay consistent to remain like at constant, like at the amount that they already had, or if the allocations are changing to become more, such as like Mission Star. Like, I'm just curious on how that process happens.
Sure, Councilor Brandhorst, this is another great question. Through you to the rest of the committee. We get a number of submissions and we try to fund programs that are having the most significant impacts. And helping unhoused people. And sometimes that's like street outreach. Was working primarily in Napanee, but have expanded into other parts of Lennox and Addington County. So helping us with that. But then sometimes it's very individual or very like there's a limited number of people, but it's still good. And the example would be the Hub Childcare Center that provides the good baby food boxes. I always, sometimes joke that, with this program, we're feeding babies like that who are in need, who may otherwise not either be fed or not get nutritional food. And, so that's a great program. But that's very central to Prince Edward County. There's not another program like that in Lennox and Addington. So there's a group of us, there's 4 staff that take a look at the submissions and try to determine where best to have funding. And it's tough. It's tough not being able to fund all the requests because all the requests are good ideas. It's just sort of some end up being funded and some unfortunately aren't.
There's only so much.
There's only so much.
That's right.
Okay. Yes. Oh, thanks, Scott. Brad, you have a question? Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. Brian touched on it, and I've been thinking about it. So I'm just kind of wondering, Brian mentioned that Morningstar fundraises and gets a whole bunch of other money. I know we can't do anything about it this year, but going forward, how much other money do they receive from grants or fundraising? And the reason I'm asking that is, do we really need to give, like, it's a good cause, I understand that. But do we really need to be giving what we're giving if they're getting a whole bunch of other money from other areas? You know what I mean? Or
Yeah, for
That,
sure.
that
That's a
was,
good question. So they operate other programs. They have the warming center, which is the primary program or the only program we fund, but they also have a food program. They have a huge kitchen there. And last year they provided almost 9,000 meals, and that's all over. An unhoused person in Flinton, and they were getting meals that were made by Morningstar. They're picking up at the Land Lakes Community Center, but they distribute to food banks all across the area. So, and they also have a clothing program. They have I think it's every Wednesday, they have a free lunch. We have a number of our tenants that live in Napanee that rely on their food services and even their lunch that go down, and that's, a social environment, but also there's a meal they don't have to pay for themselves. So I don't know how much money they bring in. I would say they're one of the more popular charities in Napanee. You hear about, somebody had a car show thing, and part of the proceeds went to Morningstar. I know they have barbecues at No Frills in Napanee once a month in the summer, and the No Frills allows them to set up and raise money there, but I don't know how much money they would raise.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so are we ready to move on with finalizing this item? We have a staff recommendation that we receive the report. The second part of that is that we approve funding, and I would say we approve funding as amended with an additional 90,000 to the Alternatives for Women. And the third part of that is we authorize staff to reallocate between program funds as required during the year.
I'll move
We
that.
have a moved by Brian, seconded by Sam. And okay, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. That was a great and thorough discussion.
Very good.
Good. We will move on to item 6, provincial report about homelessness. And Scott.
Yes. Thank you, Chair and Mr. Chair, and through you to the rest of the committee. So this is last year, it was a combined effort from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Ontario Municipal Social Services Association, and the Northern Ontario Service Delivery Association. So AMO, OMSA, and NASDA got together and did a report about homelessness that tried to determine how much homelessness is costing municipalities. So they did a report last year, and then they did an updated report this year. And probably one of the most significant pieces of the report in front of you is the first point under the key findings. Homelessness in Ontario is increasing at a pace that exceeds capacity. And that's definitely true for us. And that makes, Councillor Calver is noting the increase in negative incidents outside of Morningstar Mission. And that's definitely it's beyond what the police, beyond what paramedics, beyond what social services and community agencies have the capacity to manage.
Yeah, so I only have one comment. I have looked at that report or the one last year and this update too. And yeah, we have a challenge on our hands that I don't think anyone really knows how to work its way through, because the problems, as we make improvements and help more people, the number of people that require more help is exceeding that.
It costs about $80,000 to $120,000 a year for a person to be homeless. And most of that is, police, justice system, but almost the majority of that are healthcare systems. Think about an unhoused person whose feet get wet in October. It's February, they haven't been dry yet. Now their feet are rotting and they need to stay at the hospital for 2 months to get foot care, stuff like that, right? So that's what drives that. And to provide a fully supportive 1 bedroom subsidized housing unit would cost about $28,000-$30,000 a year based on a 25-year mortgage. But there's a less expensive option, and I'm forever hopeful that they'll announce a program, hey, we have this program to build the housing and provide supports, and that ultimately would save so much money.
Yeah.
One of the issues is, it costs Palace money, it costs the police, an ambulance, and the hospital, and the town of Napanee, and it chips away at so many different areas that it's there's not one person paying that huge bill. So anyway, those are my comments about this.
Thanks, Scott. Do you have any comments on the report? Oh, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. Just one comment or one thing that stuck out to me was the percentage of homeless that's Indigenous. And it was just a shocking number that I think, like, you hear numbers, but to actually get, or you hear, there, like, things like there's a large portion of homeless is Indigenous, but to put a number to it and to actually see it is a much different one. And that's about all. It just helps when it just helps bring more information to light, and that was something I was really appreciative about this report. It's not even just similar to what our chair was saying, like, it's just to understand more. So very thankful for it.
Yes, I know in our last enumeration in 2022 or something of unhoused people, Indigenous people were way overrepresented. And I'll have a more detailed report in April about our current enumeration, but yeah, that's definitely the case.
Great. Okay, thank you. I guess that's the end of the questions on that one. So we have a recommendation to note and receive the report. Mover, Nathan, seconder, Steve, all in favor? Carried, and thank you, Scott. And now we have staffing transitional housing in Scott. Give
Yeah,
us
just a
an-
couple of comments about this. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of comments or highlights here. I did actually reach out to a couple of places that provide transitional housing, and the one place actually gave me their budget, which was great because I could make sure that my costing or estimates were fairly accurate. Obviously, when you're staffing something, it becomes way more expensive. And this model looked at always having 2 people on. And when you look at that, I was, interested to know like the number of staff that would take. But when you count, 40 hours a week, but the place has to be open 24 hours a day, it resulted in about almost $1 million a year to operate. And one piece I want to note is just that both places I talked to cautioned me about. They said, well, what are the hopes for this, for having transitional housing? And it was like, well, the hopes would be that people that need supervised living accommodations would receive it. And they both cautioned that if we're looking at, all of a sudden the visibly unhoused population is no longer there, it may not achieve those goals because they've experienced, people who live in transitional housing, whether it's staffed or not, still have to be open to moving forward. They have to be open to meeting with people and receiving counseling and doing better. It can't be a place just, great, now I have a warm, dry place to inject drugs and not pursue mental health improvement in my mental health issues. They have to be cooperative. They can't assault staff or other residents and things like that. And so, unfortunately, some of the most visible unhoused people with some of the most, disturbing behaviors that you see on the streets may not make it in transitional housing because there's still that cooperation. So that's just my piece there. And I would also look at the cost comparison to running a similar transitional housing home that we have that isn't staffed is about $45,000 a year.
Yes, so any questions or comments? We've lost Brian. Hopefully he comes back. Yeah, I mean,
Just,
go ahead, Sam.
just a quick comment. I think it really points to what you were saying earlier, the importance of transitional housing and how much. Sorry, I asked a question that should have been asked now, but and how successful it is, because like what you were saying earlier, Scott, like if these are people that do like they're no longer homeless after, like this has propelled them in the right trajectory. And I know Ellis, who's listening, they would have probably some great stories from Leeward House and on, but that's the encouraging part. Like you're making an investment to really change lives. So even though it seems like a staggering number to me in this time, when really $1 million isn't crazy, to really give people that launch and that new step into a better life, like it's nice to see the number, but also nice to know that like change can happen. So thank you just for that anecdote earlier.
Yes, yeah. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, the number, sorry, not surprising. I mean, we have, I think, what, 33 people in transitional housing or something right now, roughly.
That
And
is
this
exactly
and
correct.
this million is for 8 people in transitional housing.
I don't know if this is here. I know I broke it down where it
I
was
think it was
like
for 8.
there's over $100,000 per room versus our current model is, I don't know if
Yeah.
this is here, is about $5,500 per room. But that's, that's the cost of housing and treating people that have super, super high needs.
Yeah. Okay, so we have any other questions on that? It's a very interesting report and helps put that in perspective. We have a recommendation to note and receive the report. Moved by Sam, seconded by Brad. Yep. All in favor? Carried, and thank you for putting that together, Scott. Our next item is number 8, enumeration housing needs and a 10-year plan update. That's you, Scott.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to the rest of the committee. So maybe I'll do the first piece on enumeration. So we did enumeration where we basically go out and we count the number of unhoused people. And we know right up front that we're never going to get every single unhoused people. But we went out and it was from January 26th to January 30th. If anybody remembers January 26th, 27th, and 28th, there was a tremendous amount of snow. So some of our community partners couldn't even get into their offices, let alone reach out to clients. So we extended it until February 4th. And at our next committee meeting, I will have more details. So what we do is we get folks to complete a survey about, how long have you been homeless? What led to being unhoused? What do you think would help? And we ask things about their age. Do they have Indigenous status? Are they a veteran? Things like that. I don't have those results for you today because a lot of the surveys were completed on paper, so we haven't processed those yet. But I can tell you, we identified 139 unhoused people, and 102 of them were from Lennox and Addington County, and 37 of them were from Prince Edward County. In no way do we think we got them all, because there's people who a couple splits up and the one person is staying at a friend's place and their couch in their basement, we maybe don't even know about those people to be able to reach out to them. So that's what the stats are on that. And I'm just going to give you a further update maybe before questions. Council Fritz, if
Sure.
that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chair first. Okay, so the housing needs study and the 10-year housing and homelessness plan, activities are underway to get those done. I will be reaching out to the CAOs of all of our member municipalities, identifying what we'll be looking for, so we want to talk to people about planning, what are your housing starts and what do you expect to see? We want to talk to maybe people about, we definitely want to talk to everybody on that housing and homelessness action team in Prince Edward County and our homelessness working group in both Prince Edward County and Lennox and Addington and people, things like that. So we'll be reaching out just to get those contacts to make sure that everybody who wants to have input can have input. And we'll be developing a survey for the community that anybody in the community can comment. Plus we'll be having, I think it's 7 community meetings that will focus more on the housing needs study, just, what needs to be done to create more affordable housing or more housing of any time. So we'll be having 7 of those sessions that you'll be receiving information about and being invited to as well.
It's great. That would be an interesting exercise to be part of
Oh,
it.
yes, I'm sure it will be.
Thank you. Any questions for Scott on these 2 items? No. So you have a recommendation to essentially note and receive Scott's report on these couple items. Moved by Brian, second by Brad. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
And thank you,
Sure.
committee, for this
That's
is my last item. So for your ongoing support and for your great questions, I really enjoy them. Seriously,
Take care, Scott. Thank you.
thank you.
So we're on to item 9, engagement with service providers. And Pam, I think you're
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
on that.
So this suggestion came forth from Councillor Branderhorst as a suggestion of how Palace Committee might wish to engage with our partners that in the community that are currently receiving funding from Palace. And so we proposed a couple of options where we could have them, a small group, present at the beginning of each meeting, kind of share how they use the funding, what their future needs are, and that might help us in future decision making around those allocations. Or we could look at a dedicated engagement session where we host that, or there may be other suggestions that committee may have. So we're looking for your direction on your wishes of how you would like to proceed. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Pam. I'll open the floor to Sam.
So I'm pretty flexible with whatever committee wants, but I did just want to say this idea came from like one organization I was chatting with, Reaching for Rainbows. It feels just wanted to talk about like how Palace funds them. It like invited me to go chat with them one-on-one. And it was really neat to see their organization and see the ripple effect in person. And I know that we can't go to every spot in person. So this was kind of what inspired that, was maybe we can hear these stories, hear what's happening. Because like when Mission Star, for example, it wants, like, we don't know where these EOIs go. We don't know about, like, even great question Brian said, or Tony, you brought up earlier, alternatives for women. Where is this? Like, what's it going to do? Like, I think this kind of inspired that, and inspired from our homelessness talk of getting together, hearing more, seeing more, was just, let's hear more, see more, talk more. So whatever you guys think is best, if you think that, one full day or a couple, like 1 or 2 people coming in and chatting is more digestible, I'm appreciative of everyone's time, and I know we're all busy.
Thanks, Sam. I know I have some comments, but I'll let others first. Anyone have suggestions? No. I'll have a comment that I think the 1 or 2 at a meeting, probably something to use the word digestible, Sam, because you're you're not dealing with, let me say, 15 groups at once, and it's all in a day, which can be very interesting and quite interactive. But you walk away from there thinking, okay, so which group was this? And I think if it's something that's ongoing, we try it for a while, right, and see how it works, and then we can adjust it from there. Yeah, I think start off slow and then adjust it as we go. Any other comments? Can I have a question for you, Sam? So did you have thoughts if we started off slow, how much time would you allot to this? Because today's an example of a meeting where we have a lot, we always have a lot to discuss. So you thinking is it 10, 15 minute out of a meeting or?
I was going to say 10 max,
10,
similar
okay.
to like council deputations. I don't know how long yours are. Ours are 10.
Yes.
I feel like that's a lot of time. It doesn't allow, it keeps things concise on their end. I'm sure they have lots of things to talk about, but once again, we have lots of things to talk about too. And I want to honor our times as well.
So you could give them, say, 5 minutes or something for a presentation, get to the point, and then 5 minutes for questions or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Any other comments? Did someone want to make a motion? There's no questions or comments. It looks like Sam. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion so that, sorry, Beth, I'm going off the cusp here, but that Pellis Committee move forward with the opportunity to have community partners who receive funding from Pellis share with the Prince Edward-Lennox and Addington Social Service Pellis Committee how current funding has been utilized and outline further priorities / resource needs, limiting representation from 1 to 2 recipients per meeting at a max of 10 minutes total for time allotment. Does that work?
That works. Thank you.
So what if we started then with just off with one at first? And we can, before we bite off more than we want initially. Brad, did you have a comment?
I was just going to second that.
Okay. Good. A second there? No other comments? Okay, that's a great idea. We'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item is number 10, preliminary budget estimates. Pam.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to share our screen. We do have a presentation that we'd like to present. If I have your authority to do that,
Okay.
I'd like to do that.
You're going to do that, Mark. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
I may have to leave the meeting in the next 5 minutes or so. I have another meeting I have to go to.
Okay.
I'm the chair of that meeting, so I got to be there a little bit early.
Thank you, Brad, for letting us know.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, Pam, we'll start us off on, and then I'll lead you through the budget presentation and the slides of the summary of what we do have presented for Pellis Committee.
All right, so through the chair, so our budget highlights for Pellis is that our 2026 budget is a 2.9% change from 2025. The cost sharing agreement between the two counties is based on the weighted assessment of the Ontario Works caseload and the social housing units. The cost share for 2026 is 63.95% for LNA and 36.05% for Prince Edward. So this is a slight adjustment for the Prince Edward County cost share has increased slightly, and it's primarily associated due to the Ontario Works caseload increase. The full-time equivalent complement of staff is down slightly from 2025. We did have a collective agreement that expired March 2024, and it was renegotiated in 2025. And we continue to receive a variety of federal and provincial funding through our Canada Ontario Community Housing Initiative and the Ontario Priorities Housing Initiative. And a lot of the individual programs are reflected on several pages throughout the budget presentation. So we do have staff available if you have specific program questions that may come up during that time, but I am going to turn it over to Mark to kind of go through some of the financial pieces.
Okay. Thank you, Pam, and through you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, the Pellis community is quite aware of how much we do rely on provincial funding to run our programs. I'd like to compliment the Pellis staff for coming in with a budget that is as reasonable as possible due to the fact that we have a reduced provincial funding. They've allocated their programs to come in with a 2.9% overall increase. And as Pam mentioned, the cost share, based on the formula, there is a slight increase for Prince Edward County. It's a 93,500 levy increase, which represents a 4.1% increase in their portion of the levy and a 2.3 for Lennox and Addington for a total increase of 2.9%. This statement actually shows the budget broken down by expense line items, and you can see where the increases and decreases are in that. And I sure hope that committee members have had a chance to read through the budget package, excuse me, that shows the highlights and the challenges and the accomplishments from 2025. This basically breaks down the overall budget as the prior screen, and then it breaks it down by a program area, a service area, and you can see again the changes on that. 2/3 of the net municipal tax levy is associated with the housing programs, so that's highly funded municipally. So our municipal contribution in total is almost 6.6 million to carry the Pellis budget. This is the social assistance breakdown of the budget. Approximately 8.2 million of that is funded 100% by the province. And that represents an 85% total expenditures offset by the provincial revenue. The cost share, the allocation administration is split 50-50 between the province and the municipalities. Employment assistance allocation is 252,600, which is 100% provincially funded, and internal transfers represent an offset from the housing and homeless programs. And we do totally municipally funded is burial funeral expenses. That's 100% municipally funded through the levy. Next is the children's services. As you know, you can see the programming funding has changed, and we're adapting our services for that, and speaking with the providers to accommodate the funding that we do receive from the province. As you're aware, in 2022, the administration allocation has been reduced from 10% to 5%. So that is a challenge that we deal with on an annual basis on how to administer children's programs, considering all the changes and the administrative burden actually that is on that, on dealing with the providers and the requirements from the province for that program. Social housing, obviously, as mentioned earlier, it's primarily funded from municipal levy at $2.22 million. Tenant revenue does represent about 52% of the operating budget to help cover that. There has been some increases in operations due to a slight change with recycling going to the provincial level from that we do have to pick up costs for that. It was normally covered under the municipal budgets for waste collection and recycling. And there has been a slight increase in pest control due to incidents that we're seeing. So an increase in that area as well. Nonprofit housing. Subsidies are based on a provincial benchmarking model. The ministry provides And this is to calculate the annual subsidies for the nonprofit housing corporations. And the COCHI, which is the Canadian Ontario Housing Initiative, supports repairs to the community housing stock. So that's all looked at it in that regard. The housing and homeless programs, overall, the provincial funding remains strong in this, and we've had detailed conversations today's meeting on where those funds get allocated and how we allocate those funds accordingly. Social housing for capital and major repairs. You can see the projection, and then the next screen is some of the projects that we're looking at doing for this year. And that includes a replacement of the furnace of the family units in the row housing. Approximately 90 furnaces are scheduled to be replaced at 215 Church Street, Meadow View, Petrie Street, and Des Riley Street. The furnaces have reached their end of their operating life, and the consumption and maintenance costs hopefully will improve with the high efficiency units that we're looking at replacing. Replacement of smoke detectors. This will help overall improvement on the safety and hopefully a reduction of some of the insurance rates. And an HVAC replacement, there's 3 replacement rooftops, air units at the Jubilee Apartments, and these units have failed and are required to be replaced. Here is the 10-year capital plan for the social housing. You can see what units with those costs that are being allocated on a 10-year basis and what housing stock is being worked on. And with that, through you, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have. Maybe I'll stop sharing screen so you can see everyone, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you, Mark. So we have any questions for Mark? Mark, you might get off easy here.
Well, thank you. Maybe because I'm at the end of the agenda. I don't know.
No, maybe because you have it all in order and you did such a great job. That's why.
Yeah, Mark, that's an absolutely fantastic report you do, and everything you do is just laid out. There's no questions there to have.
Yeah.
Great job. Thank you.
Yep. And like you said, very fiscally responsible budget. It's hard to make comments on it.
Yeah. Well done. So.
Well, thanks to the Pellis committee staff, or the staff at Pellis. They do an awesome job on going through it in detail and doing what they can to make it a responsible budget for sure.
Oops, I'm just waiting for the. I can't get my, anyway, can't get my screen to come back here. So there is a staff recommendation, but I can't pull it up.
Just a motion to
Tony, I
approve
can read
through you,
them.
Council.
Oh, wait.
Can you read it? For some reason it pull up here, right? Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Can you read it?
That the social services operational overview presented by Acting Director Social Services and the Director Financial Services be noted and received, and further that staff continue to develop the 2026 preliminary Pellis budget document.
Thank you, Beth. Okay, we have that. We have a mover. Moved by Brian, seconded by Steve. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate that. And we have matters for information, performance metrics. Liam.
Through you, Chair, I don't have anything further to add to the report. I do just want to highlight that, as you can probably note within the data metrics, they're currently only reflective of November figures. This was intentional as we're still trying to finalize our 2025 year end to ensure there's continuity within the system due to this year-end finalization. Both the financial figures and data statistics are only reflective of November, but then come next Palace committee, everything will be updated and the Palace report will highlight the year-end figures at that point.
Thank you, Liam. Do we have questions on the performance metrics for Liam? Don't see any questions. So we have a recommendation to note and receive. Moved by Nathan, seconded by Sam. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Liam. Appreciate it. And we're going to go into a closed session. Pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, this part of the meeting will be closed to the public in order to consider a proposed or pending acquisition of land by the municipality and to consider financial information supplied in confidence to the municipality. Just wait a minute until we have confirmation that we're in closed.
Okay, just a moment.
We do need a motion to go into.
Oh, you need the
closed as well,
motion?
Tony.
Oh, yes.
That's why I raised my hand, Tony.
Thank you, Nathan. Moved by Nathan, seconded by Sam. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, just a moment and I'll confirm when we're good to start. Just give me a second here, folks. Just having a little bit of difficulty.
Brain today, so it makes sense. We're moving and supporting each other.
There, I knocked you. You go back to your other job now.
Yeah.
No, so lonely.
And we're live again.
Thank you. We're back in open meeting. Verizon report. In closed session, the Prince Edward-Lennox and Addington Social Services Committee considered a potential acquisition of property. We have a recommended resolution that staff proceed as directed in a closed session. Do we have a mover? Moved by Nathan, second by Brian. All in favor? Carried. And we have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Sam, second by Brian. All in favor? Carried. Well, thank you very